So why do we do the work that we do? God has called us to love our neighbors, but how do we love our neighbor if we don't even know who they are? Many of us know God's commandments and want to follow them. Even though we are segregated, many of us didn't intentionally plan segregation, especially those in faith-based communities. Most separation in North America is not based on intention. Ill-willed people, in fact, many people who battle with thoughts of prejudice do not want to have these thoughts. Others simply don't know what they don't know in regards to race and ethnicity. And currently, most white Americans are able to live separately from people of color in most aspects of their lives. In fact, many white people do not even have to be intentional about this separation. West Michigan area is known as one of the most hyper-segregated communities in North America. And also, Michigan is number 3 in reported hate crimes. Did anyone know that? Yeah. And those are just in reported hate crimes. A lot of things happen. There are probably more crimes, hate crimes, that go unreported than go reported in not just Michigan, but other places as well. But we're number 3, and that's not something to be proud of. And when you think about segregation, West Michigan is a pretty segregated community when you think about it. You can, for those of you who may not live in the city, you can actually go to your home and communities and not have to venture anywhere else, or not have to see anybody who looks different from you. I mean, I just ask you to think about that for a minute. You can, go to your little shopping areas and what have you, go fill up your gas tank, whatever day-to-day things in your little community, and not really have to venture out or deal with others unless, you live more in the city. It still amazes me that we have a lot of students that come in to community college, because we have students coming from everywhere. And there are students that have never been downtown, have never interacted with somebody from another race, and they come on campus and they experience a culture shock. So, because that was just by no fault of their own, by how they were raised, where they lived. And so I always encourage people to venture out of your communities, see what's out there, and make an effort to be intentional about who you're talking to and interacting with and so forth. So that's just another thing to know about West Michigan. And as our demographics continue to change, and the minority population will be the majority population in not too distant future. But do we see, I'm even looking around here, and I've been to a couple services here at Fountain Street, and one of the things I do as a person of color, I always am kind of aware of where I'm at and look around, and I don't really see myself reflected too much in this audience. And it's not by not by no fault of yours, but that's something that a person of color is usually aware of. And when you're in a setting, I serve on a lot of different boards and committees throughout the community, and often I'm the only voice at that table. And like I said, I don't represent the whole Latino community. I have a voice in it, but there's generational differences, there's language differences. A lot of people assume I speak fluent Spanish. I don't. When I was growing up, it was speak English, where now knowing language is cool, and people want to speak different languages. So I'm limited in my Spanish. I can understand a lot, but I don't speak very well. But often when I'm at those tables, I'm also asked, where are you from? Assuming that I can't be from. And it's usually assume that I can't, or do I speak English? I was born and raised here, and generally the people asking me are people who haven't been here very long. So I've been in this community my whole life, but the point is that I don't often feel like I'm part of the community. And just an example of that is I remember the first time I went to San Antonio, Texas, and I got there into the community, and I really felt a strong sense of this is where I belong. Because there were people that looked like me, you could hear the language, not just like me, but it was a very diverse community, and you can turn on the TV, you can see yourself reflected in whether it's newscasters, business professionals, that kind of thing. And it's not just San Antonio, you can go to Chicago, even Ann Arbor. I've been spending a lot of time in Ann Arbor lately. The ethnic diversity of the restaurants, the people, the languages that you're hearing, you just, as a person of color, you just feel a real strong, okay, I feel like I'm okay here. You just feel that connection automatically. So I just mentioned that because, again, if you don't have, and I'm speaking from my board experience, if you don't have a diverse mix of people, not just ethnicity, but diversity of a thought, of opinion, gender, if you don't have those voices at the table, you're not getting the broad scope of opinion. And a lot of times at those tables, decisions are being made for communities that are being served that some of the people don't even know much about. So we see that and hear that a lot, that, a lot of work and planning goes into different initiatives, but oops, we forgot to bring some of those voices to the table that we're serving. So again, just be aware of your surroundings, who's at those various tables, and decisions that are being made, because we don't see the diversity of our community reflected in leadership positions and roles, and that's really important. And it's not that there aren't people that are qualified. There are. It's just really making those decisions about making sure that we are bringing those voices and providing those opportunities for all people. So what makes biases continue? Bigotry is marketed in such a way that people automatically want to deny its existence. Racism has a painful history. Racism is just too awkward and awful to take a closer look at, so therefore denying it never happened often makes things easier. And fear, that's a big one. Instead of healing, we are often hiding from the problem, afraid to talk about it and hoping it will go away. The longer we refuse to accept the reality of racism's true nature, the distance between people of color and whites will continue to grow. And fear is a big one. We're all afraid when to talk about things that are uncomfortable. So we encourage those dialogues. And again, for those of you that have attended an Institute for Healing Racism, I'm sure that you learned a lot. And it takes courage to stand up to injustice, and when you see things or hear things or witness something, whether it's at the grocery store or what have you, and things are happening. A lot of things are happening unjustly, whether it's there's a lot going on with immigration, so there's a lot of hate and anger towards the Latino community. There's a consistent negativity and hate against our gay, lesbian, transgender community. There's, women, look at what's happening to women with the laws and injustices. I mean, I could go on and on. There's just so much happening. So we just really have to pay attention to what's going on, and to also where we're getting our news from, and make sure that you're getting all opinions, and that you're getting it from reputable sources. So how many take paths that lead towards people that are different from them or away from them? And this is from the book of John 4:3-9. Jesus left Judea and departed again for Galilee, and he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." The Jews kept their distance from the Samaritans, and today our physical proximity hasn't changed much in regards to where we live, work, worship, and play. And think of how long ago that was. In so many ways, we're going backwards. Jesus intentionally went through Samaria in the book of John 4. It describes how Jesus did not follow other Jews by going around the city of Samaria, but he chose to go directly through the town. It is amazing how far some of us are willing to go in order to avoid others. Jews choose to take a 6-day journey around Samaria instead of a shorter 3-day journey through Samaria, simply to avoid contact with Samaritans. The Good Samaritan in the book of Luke provides a similar example as he goes out of his way to help someone who is different than him. We are all ministers of racial reconciliation when we confess racism and bigotry as a sin. I ask that you do your best to reach out to other groups, provide leadership in cross-cultural communications, and humbly hold each other accountable in our responses and reactions. So, how many of you know the golden rule? We've all heard that since we were little. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. But we have a platinum rule, and it's treat others the way they need to be treated. Not everybody needs to be treated the same. Take time to get to know somebody and, what their needs are. And certainly in our environments with students, we have students from all different ethnicities, cultures, and regions. So it's important to learn, how their cultures are different, and what's respectable to them may not be respectable to you. What you respect, they may not hold as, one of their prime things. So it's really important to get to know people and to treat others the way they need to be treated, not how you think they need to be treated. And take a risk and forgive yourself and others when you make a mistake. It's okay. And, I'm so used to being asked, where are you from, or do you speak English, that, I don't get mad. Sometimes it's very innocent, but it's also those moments, those uncomfortable moments are times that you can teach each other and learn from each other. Don't be afraid to ask. If somebody's different from you, don't be afraid to ask. You'll be surprised how many times those conversations turn out really enriching, and the more you know about somebody, and then you realize how many similarities that you do have. So again, don't be afraid to take a risk. Reach out to others in your neighborhoods. And one of the things that I think is, sometimes people ask me, well, what should I do? I have young kids, and we live in, not a very diverse neighborhood. What can we do? I think you can buy books. And we have them in the Diversity Learning Center, too, that you can check out. But we have books with different ethnic authors and stories. And you can start by having them see things in books. And you can take them to some of the great festivals that are happening downtown. One of the things we like to do, and not just in Grand Rapids, but in big cities, is venture into the neighborhoods, into the heart of the communities. And we all come together through food and celebrations, so it's good to check out some of these hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and that's really where some of the best food is. If you want to know where some of the best Mexican restaurants are, you can ask me after here. But you can do those things. You can take them to non-traditional things, and I've always taught my daughter that is. Always reach out to others, and I've always taken her places unless you feel that there's a threat of danger. But usually, the learning is so valuable, and when you take some of those risks just to kind of venture out of your own comfort zone, and then validate others' experiences. that's really important when people are sharing things or something that may have happened. A lot of times people will say, no, that couldn't have happened, or, you know, when people share things that may have, in different injustices that may have happened to them, or that's not still happening in Grand Rapids, or, you know, everything's okay, we have a black president, and, you know, those kinds of things. So I believe, and just from my perspective and what I do, that things are actually have not. They were better for a while, but I think that things have actually gone backwards quite a bit as far as race and gender and, you know, other issues. I really do think that we're in a very critical time, and not just in Grand Rapids, but in our nation and in our world. There are a lot of injustices happening and a lot of bad things happening, and we as people can't turn away from that. I mean, this is our world. It belongs to all of us. So I just encourage you to validate others' experiences and listen to people and try to learn from them. And I'll just conclude with a prayer for healing, which is by Eric Law. I pray for a world one day where no one needs to be afraid, a world that's full of knowledge of peace, as the waters cover the sea. Fill me with your love, O God. Pour your justice over me. Flood me with your power to forgive, and soak me in our peace. And the waters cover the sea, as the waters cover the sea. Thank you.
Thank you.